is sponsored by Beacon, a home for those who have a passion for filmmaking and the unusual. Paraware, apparel for the action-seeking paranormal investigator. Dragonfly art and soul for all of your magical, metaphysical, and spiritual needs. Mystery Control, your go-to feed for science, magic, true crime, the paranormal, and so much more. Hey everybody, and look who's here. We have the amazing Austin Maynard. Isn't he fantastic? He's looking good. He's beautiful. What can I tell you about him? Listen, while he's still sitting here, and I'm embarrassing him, Austin, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
How long? When did we film? You and I was doing camera work. It was for Beyond the Veil, and we came to Byron, Ohio, and we filmed. How many years ago was that?
Oh, you're with Dan, right?
Right.
Yeah, you guys. It was beneath or within
Beyond
these walls,
beyond the wall, or something like that. Yeah,
within these walls, I believe it was.
that's what
And
it was. Within these walls. That's right.
oh gosh, that could have been 2021, maybe. I mean, it was. I want to say it was like, I don't even know if it was during the pandemic or before.
I think we were right. I think we're right in the middle of the pandemic.
It's possible. That's a good question.
Unbelievable.
I remember we met at Middle Point.
That's right. And we're going to talk about that just real quickly. But my guest tonight is an amazing gentleman that I got a chance to meet years ago. And I told him off the air that, guys, just when I think that the paranormal is getting boring, just when I think that there's no new devices, because, yours truly is always looking for something new, something kind of exciting. And my comment was, this is all the same, except they put them in a different wrapper. Everything's in the same, it's all the same stuff. And lo and behold, this gentleman writes to me and says, come to the dark side. Come and check out my Facebook pages. And I went and I said, okay. And ça c'est bien. It was good. That's all I'm going to tell you right now. It was great. And he is he's an innovator. He's a creative genius. He's a madman is what he is. And I can't believe what he comes up with. And I look forward to whenever he posts, because he's always tinkering. He's always hacking. He's always looking forward. And that's why I thought it was so important for the amazing Austin Maynard to be on the show tonight. And I am just like so thrilled. And again, dude, we had a, senior brain. I had a senior moment. We got our times mixed up. Of course, it was my fault. I'm not going to lie. It was my fault. I'll put my hand up and take the fall. And I was so thrilled that you were like, oh, no problem. We'll just come jump ahead. I said, fantastic. Austin, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Black Cat Lounge. This is, I've got like too many questions for an hour. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to tap for you to come back so we can finish conversations, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, dude. I've been looking forward to this for a while, man. It's always good talking to you.
This is great. Now, I have viewers that are relatively new. I go back to the Radio Shack hack days. Back to those days, Joe's Box and all those other ones that were just after the, when Frank's boxes were just starting coming out.
Right.
But, I never liked using them because the static was so bad I'd get a nosebleed is basically what it was. It was brutal. And again, we were doing AM radio, and we were doing, audio on the internet, and it was just nothing but static.
Right.
So, for those out there that don't know, what ITC is. Would you explain it, please?
Yeah, ITC is Instrumental TransCommunication. It's basically the use of some form of audio device. I guess there's other versions of like the Ovilus and those forms now too, but usually it's using some form of audible or visual communication uh, to the other side, the dead, whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's basically just doing a two-way communication that way. It's more like live uh, interaction.
Now, remember so far back, Austin, when you were just a wee boy. When you were just a wee boy, Frank Sumption comes out with this device
Mhm.
that changed everything. Just changed everything. It was something that it was a game changer for all of us. Now we had been using EVP collection. I mean, I'm a person that went back as far as using cassettes for EVP collection. I didn't use real, but I did cassette recording.
Yeah.
And this was like amazing. This stuff was coming out. And so could you tell everybody a little bit about like Frank and what he was creating?
So essentially, when people initially started using radios for communication, it was like you said, just a kind of a dead station. And people used to do that with ham radios. Really, I think it was like ham radio or some form of that. Like when they initially started doing it. Actually, no, there was even it goes way further back because
Well,
EVP actually goes way further back. But what Frank
well,
Sumption was
yeah.
doing was basically people for a long time were just manually tuning the radios up and down to get the ghost box effect. But Frank found a way to tune that voltage or tune the radio, make the voltage on the radio tuner go up and down automatically with adjustable speed. So Frank actually was the first one to figure out how to create a sweep circuit.
He was, it when I first heard of this, I thought it was like really like it was total science fiction. And I had my doubts. And I'm going to come out and tell you, I had a lot of doubts.
Mhm.
And what changed my mind, it was like I met for the very first time the godfather of the paranormal, John Zaffis. I met him. He was doing a lecture in the Lilydale Assembly, and I
Mhm.
met him. And I asked him. I remember we were all sitting in the auditorium, and I put my hand up, and I asked him, "What do you think of it?" And he looked at me and he says, "Oh, there's always one in the crowd." And he kind of like blew it off a little bit and kept going. Later on, he calls me over after the lecture and he goes, "What is it about ITC that you're interested in?" And I asked him about it in Frank's box and all that. He goes, "Well, I'm just going to tell you something, Tim." He says, "I didn't believe it until I got real time positive communication that nobody else could get." And Johnny and I go back now. We probably go back. We were trying to figure it out a couple of weeks ago, close to 30 years.
Wow.
So this was something that was brand new at the time, and it was just cutting edge.
Right.
I gotta ask you now, and the big comment that I kind of like when I was doing a little bit of homework, and I knew this anyway,
Yeah.
but I mean, we're talking Tesla in 1899 claiming that he was getting voices. Now, I believe I can't remember if they were alien or if they were. I think he had a lot to do with the spiritualist movement, the two-way communication with that, because the spiritualist movement was huge at that
Mhm.
time, and he was a proponent of it. And I was wondering, do you feel that Tesla was on the right track with it? Because I remember because you can buy kits to make the Tesla coil, which is the ghost radio, the Tesla ghost radio.
Oh yeah, spare radio. Yeah.
Do you feel that was probably the beginning of the movement, or do you think that there was something even more to it than just that?
Well, I think what Tesla was doing, I mean, Tesla more or less found a way to tune the radio, or I believe, because, wait, no, I think, because I know Marconi created the radio, but I can't remember if he was the one that was made it tunable or if Tesla was the one that made it tunable. But I do think that discovering those signals and finding a way to receive the signals and make them audible to us was definitely a huge step in the right direction, especially because radio frequencies, it kind of showed that radio frequencies are literally all around us all the time, and we just kind of discovered them. So it's not like, I mean, they're universal too. So, I mean, it is possible that Tesla could have been talking to aliens, but he thought that he was talking to aliens. But I mean, a lot of people think it could have been interdimensional, or I think it's ultra terrestrial. Is the
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
like, so I mean, there was a lot of things that he was doing, but the way that he described it was that he couldn't make out what the conversations were, but he was hearing like people talking, almost like a crowd talking, but he could just never make out exactly what any words were. And so I do think it was like, it absolutely was a big step. I mean, obviously for humanity in general, but like, yeah, I mean, now that we know that these are there, that's where we start to look into them, right?
See, that was a big thing that with the spiritualists.
Mhm.
Being a spiritualist historian myself, the big push always was energy, frequency, and
Vibration.
vibration. You can't see it,
Right.
but yet we know it's there. Yet we know now, we know it's there. But back in the 1800s, they had no way of understanding any of that or measuring it. So to me, it only makes sense that we are bombarded by some kind of frequency radio signals constantly, whether it's extraterrestrial, whether it's like you said, interdimensional is a huge thing that we can talk about, because that's about 6 shows in itself to get to that point. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between ITC and EVP collection, because again, these are some basic questions that I just want to bring everybody up to speed with.
Well, EVP is actually a form of ITC. So it's all one and the same.
Right.
So like ITC is more of an umbrella term for like, because it includes EVP work, direct radio voice, ghost boxes, anything phonetic modes on different things, like anything that you can use for like audible communication, words, whatever, So I mean, it's all just kind of one and the same. Yeah.
A lot of people think that there is, I have to say the paranormal community is very, I won't say fractionated, but they are very, very myopic sometimes, because as someone who works within the paranormal community, the crypto community, I love anything to do with UFOs. I love anything that is unusual really attracts my attention. And all these other communities seem to embrace everybody, all the different theories. I can go to a cryptozoology conference, and it's all embracive. You'll learn something from them because of the fact that they're so open, and and it's like a universal thing. The MUFON convention, same thing. But somehow, why paranormal is like very pigeonholed, and they it's just like now, like people like yourself have literally, because listen, Austin, you're bullheaded. You pushed yourself out there, and you're pushing the frontiers. You're pushing the doors open. You're opening, pushing the walls apart in order to go and get people to be a part of, or to get people to think, to be a part of this new movement. And I think that's what's so important about understanding what ITC is all about, because it also encompasses infrasound, correct? And I mean, it's anything that's vibratory in nature, if you think about it.
Well, ITC would be more like using or looking for words and like communication within those frequencies. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what the frequency is. It could be infrasound, it could be hypersonic, it could be, you know, or not infrasound, but like the, what is it? Ultrasound. Sorry.
Ultrasound. Yes.
Ultrasound. So, like, I mean, it could be any frequency that's audible. And like if you're hearing words and like getting direct communication from those frequencies, even if it's just like one dead frequency, like that is ITC. But like just because it uses like what I did at the Western Block for Nick and with Nick and Tess at for Deathwater, right? Like I had the infrasound and I had the Schumann resonance both at the same time, but that's not ITC. Because that's just blasting sound frequencies into that's a separate kind of experiment. But like if I were to start like doing EVP or like listening for any kind of reaction somehow, and you know I could have did that if I were to have taken. See now, like now I'm thinking back like I should have, could have, would have, right? But like, I could have put a contact microphone on the floor or on the walls of that attic and see how see what kind of reaction we got.
Austin, all I'm going to tell you about that attic is I've seen the Deathwalker episodes from there, and just to let you know, did you know that was the only place that's ever knocked me to the floor?
I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me.
That place,
and knocked Justin to the floor too. I remember that.
Oh, that's right, Justin. Yeah, that's right. He got pushed down. I got to tell you that it was an amazing experience for me. And that attic is one of the places where I want to go. And I'm taking the meters with me, the radiation meter, the barometer and everything, and the static meter. And I'm just going to set them up and I'm going to let everybody else do their thing. And I'm going to go and I'm going to just work. I'm going to record the entire session and just see what we're doing. And one thing after, let's just see where it leads us. And I think that's what's going to be interesting about it. Now, okay, I need your comment on this one. This was funny because I don't know if you'll remember this. I don't know if you remember this. Way back when there was a gentleman, we won't say his name, but there was a gentleman that used to work ITC. I think he had a couple Frank's boxes, and I can't remember if he made his own or whatever. And he used to claim there was only 6 people in the entire world that could go and work any kind of an ITC device. And
I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, no names.
I won't say it, but I know who you're talking about.
You know, and I'll never forget sitting there going, well, that doesn't make sense, because if there are radio waves surrounding us and these devices are picking up these radio waves. Now, again, just like dowsing, you can be the antenna. I mean, you're working with a piece of equipment, you can be the antenna, but only 6 people. And I guess I already got your reaction on that one, but what do you say to something like that?
I think can I cuss? No, probably not.
Yeah. Oh, hey, listen. We're not. We're on the internet. You can say whatever you want, Austin. It's all good.
You're full of shit, dude. You're full of shit. Your head is so fucking big if you think that you and 5 other people are the only people that can communicate with the dead through a spirit box or through any kind of ITC device. To think that. Especially if you think that 6 of you, and I mean, what about before you guys? Like, is it just a cycle of 6, or how does that work? I don't understand his logic there, but people are weird. I don't know. People have weird thoughts, man.
I just sat there and I just thought to myself, okay, whatever. And I always remember that, and I do remember. The reason why I do remember this is because I think I have the article, the magazine article, in my archives. I'm gonna have to dig that out just to refresh my memory.
What's crazy is that he is not the only one though. Really? There's a number of them. Oh my gosh, there's another dude. I can't remember what his name is. It's like God, I don't even know, but he goes on and he's like this Christ-like figure. He comes out with this aura and the smoke behind him in all his videos. He's got a crowd and he pulls out his amazing, beautiful looking box radio, you know, and he just like, I don't know. He's the only one that can use it. But he will flat out tell you that he is the only person that can communicate with the other side.
Wow. But well, as a spiritualist historian, I can tell you all the frauds that I've met,
Mhm.
all the people that pull jewels out of their
Mhm.
out of their
Well, it's like
sleeves
those
and
people that genuinely believe that they're a prophet, or like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just more mental delusion than it is like, you know, I don't know. You know, they have issues really.
well, no, I agree because you have to think to yourself, you have to think to yourself, if they can do it, what is special about them? And as a mediumship instructor, number one, I'm going to tell you that you're not special. Anybody can anybody can do what I do. It's no big deal, you know. It's just practice. It's practice and determination and intent. And people don't get that. And I mean, I think some people are a little bit better antennas than others. So a box, let's say I get one of your boxes, and I'll be honest with you, a friend of mine made me a beautiful little box, and I turned it on, and like within like 20 minutes, I already had my name called a couple times, and I mean, really interesting.
Mhm.
And I wrote to him, I said, DJ, I mean, your box is great. I mean, I can't believe the responses. And I'm in my basement, and I'm getting
Right.
these responses. He goes, I made a box for somebody else. He hates it. Nobody, no, it doesn't work. So to me, I
Yeah.
think a lot of it has to do with the individual and
Yeah.
and our makeup. And basically, we have to figure out what works for us.
Well, to add to that, actually, you know, it also has to do with the builder and a bit. And I mean, I'm a really big supporter and advocator for like hand built devices. Like, I really do not like things that are like shipped over from China, completed or whatever. Like, I like to have like hand soldered. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because that,
Yeah,
I feel
I do.
like it's a more direct, like blood, sweat, and tears type of energy transfer. And I think that in itself is like, if I mean, I think that your mood as a builder can directly impact how well the device works. So whether if I'm in a bad mood and I'm fighting with my wife or something, I probably shouldn't
Which
build
by
a
the way,
box.
you never do. You never fight with your wife. I already know that.
No, she's already right. She's always right. It's all right. Uh, she's over there like, but like if I'm in a bad mood, right, and I'm trying to build a device, like it's not gonna work as well. But to the other side of that, yeah, I mean, it does take the user as well to have that right energy, that open energy, because that's a big part of it.
I mean, I have to agree with you 100%. Uh, the other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is I've been seeing a lot of backroom builders, and they're buying components. Now, I know, like, as someone who worked in the public sector, uh, the engineers that I worked with, they bought components and plugged them together, plug and plays.
Mhm.
I don't think they work as well as something that is really, like you said, is crafted by a person. There's only three of them. Let's say there's three of them in the entire world. And I do
Yeah.
believe that that intent is put into it. Because we see a lot of these, like the filter boxes. Let's not just the scanners, but the filter boxes,
Yeah.
which I wish I had back when the old Radio Shack hack days, because my nose is still permanently, there's something up there that's still not right because my nose bled so badly from hearing that static all day long. Uh, but they've been using guitar pedals
Mhm.
and they're just using them generally. I mean, okay, they're great for like the novice, like somebody like myself, they're great a novice builder. But what do you think of those? Do you think that perhaps we can do better?
Oh yeah. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of pedals. I try to avoid them. as much as possible. Like I use some for like if I want to do reverse speech. I can run a ghost box through a reverse speech pedal and just basically have all the words come out of the ghost box backwards.
Right.
Just to kind of add that extra layer of, something different, right?
Yeah.
Or another layer of, this was not a radio station kind of debunkery stuff, right? But the pedals, I think that they take away too much audio. They take away too much of the signal. They eat a lot of it, but that's because pedals are required to handle different kind of signal, like a lot more powerful signal from
Right.
guitars, and
Right.
like PA system amps. Like they're meant for that, not typically for what we're doing. I mean, they will work obviously, but I think I think that there's something with the impedances. I think that it's taking away audio no matter what pedal, even if you don't have a noise suppressor or anything. Like if you just use a reverb pedal, like you're still taking there's some signal that could be lost, and we don't know what we might be losing, and that's a
So
big
here's something that I want to ask you.
thing.
So do you recommend using any kind of a filter system, or do you think that we should just go and whatever? Now I love my old hack radios and a Jonathan Lento, who passed away probably a decade ago, made me my very first hack Radio Shack. This beautiful little. It's like one of those ones that you would take like in the 1950s on a picnic.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. So do you feel that perhaps we should just be listening to it in a purer form and forget about the filters?
I think it depends on what method you're trying to do, what kind of experiment you're trying to do. Like for instance, there's different ways you can use a ghost box, whether it's analog or digital. I mean, if you're using analog, some people like to have the sweep rate a little slower, to be able to hear more words in a sentence or whatever, because it kind of blends together. But I personally like to have that sweep rate fast, like so it all just kind of sounds like a bunch of nothing, just little bits and pieces of speech all coming through all at once. It's kind of randomized in a way. And so I personally like that. But there's also the people with digital. I mean, a digital spirit rate. I mean, because it's a different kind of, it's not necessarily a ghost box, it's a spirit box. And I like to separate the two, because a spirit box is like you're going from one end up, back to the bottom, one end up, back to the
Yep.
bottom, one end up. Whereas a ghost box, you're going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So like and plus I think you can also use ghost boxes for what we call direct radio voice, which is basically, just listening for voices that are not coming in from the tuner. So I mean, it really just, I think that it depends. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like every person likes to have their different method to use. And
Right.
I like to mix them up. Depending on the location, how I'm feeling, what the situation is, right? I mean, I travel with like 20 ghost boxes at any given time. So, like I have a
You're
ghost
my
box
hero.
for every possible situation that could arise in the location.
That
But
that
I believe that they're all different though. They all work differently.
I think that to me, I think that's fantastic. Let me share something with you. I had a cornea transplant a couple of years ago. I went blind in my right eye.
Ooh.
So I had to go and get I had a cornea transplant, and it was successful. Successful. I got 90% of my vision back in the eye. It's fantastic. So recovery sucks because you can't do anything. So I'm sitting in my basement, basically doing chair yoga. I call it senior yoga. It's like it's embarrassing to admit this, because I go to the gym and lift weights, but I'm doing this. So I'm working up. But what do I do? So I throw in I got a scanner, and I throw it on there, and I got just a just a little box or a filter box. I'm just playing around with it,
Mhm.
and it's going, and I get a lot of gibberish. All of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder who gave me this graft. Not 10 seconds later, the gibberish stops. It goes dead. The name Felix comes up, goes dead, and goes into gibberish. And I go, Felix, do I know you? Being a medium, that's what do you say? You know, everybody's like, well, whatever made you think to ask if you knew this person? It's natural, you know, you do that as a medium. And
Yeah.
it went dead, and the word came out, transplant. Went dead and went back into gibberish. At that point, I knew that ITC was the real deal. At that point, I realized that this two-way communication is really something that should be really looked into more seriously than it actually is.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
so what would you consider that? Under what classification would you consider that?
I mean, I guess I'm trying to, man. I mean, that is definitely just a standard ghost box response. I mean, or a spirit box response, but it's definitely, I mean, that definitely was relevant to your question. I mean, that was what do they call it? Intelligent, so I mean, but that's a box. Is it a box that you use frequently or?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, you may have a connection to it already. On top of the fact that you are a medium, that the way I describe it is you're like a lighthouse in the darkness. Like no matter where you go, if you are there, like you're just always shining. Whereas like most people who don't always have that ability, like who aren't just normal psychics on a day-to-day basis like that. Well, I guess that's kind of all of them, right? They should be all day-to-day. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but like, I guess, oh, I forgot where I was going with that. I got tripped up by that.
That's all right. That's all right. Here's another thing. White noise. Now, for years and years and years, white noise was the standard when it came to doing any kind of EVP work or the beginning of ITC work. So white noise was always there, and I did the experiments where we did, of course, the shack hack without white noise in the back, running in the background,
right,
and with it. And for me, we seem to get more direct response with the white noise. Have you ever found that to happen with anything that you've done?
Yeah, actually, so white noise, what white noise is basically just like all the frequencies that are audible playing all at once randomly. Like that's just literally all white noise is. Now there's different other noises too, like pink noise, green noise, brown noise. There's all these other.
See, I did not know that. That's interesting to find out about.
Yeah, actually, and you can actually get them for like a lot of people have them in the sleep apps, like those sleep, like that play those sleep sounds for you. Yeah, like so, like green noise is good for like trying to sleep at night. I know like pink noise is meant to be like lower frequencies, or well, no, is it the higher? I can't remember. There's there's like a spectrum of colors when it comes to that. But I mean, yeah, I believe that what it's doing essentially. So, do you by chance know Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez?
Yes. Yes.
Great friends of mine, great people, amazing research that they're doing. So the digital seance project or the digital seance experience is what they're doing. Formerly Staticom, but
that's awesome.
So basically their system, and now this plays into your filter a little bit. Their system is 3 white noise generators, like true white noise generators, not like the same 10 seconds on repeat or whatever.
Right.
So they got 3 of those simultaneously mixing into this audio into a computer, which they have a program called Crisp. And Crisp is an AI audio filter. And it's basically trained to pick out like human vocal frequencies or vocal tones out of whatever you give it. And over time, they've trained this AI to it's able to, The responses that they get out of that is just unbelievable. But the AI they slow down. That's actually what they do. They slow down the audio. Like, I mean, I don't know what the actual percentage is. You'd have to ask him. But then they run it through this filter that, like, it'll just pick out vocal tones. And we actually did it. Yeah, we did do it for season 4 at the BCL Manor in Deathwalker.
Yep.
That's what we did. We did their experiment. And like, that's the kind of responses they get. And it's like, I mean, just being there and watching it and witnessing it happen, seeing how the system is set up, like, and knowing that there's no bullshit with it, like that. I mean, I'm blown away by it. And I'm actually happy that we brought them onto the IDC Institute now to help us with that stuff. So, I mean, Ron is probably the most educated person I've ever met when it comes to ITC, when it comes to, if you ever want, like, you want to know about ITC, the history of ITC, all of that, Ron and Lourdes are probably the 2 most educated people I know.
Oh, I'm a fan. They're a little, like yourself, you're a little over my head in some things.
Ron makes me feel stupid. Let me just say that. He does, man. And it's bad because it's like, dang, dude, I just don't have his level of understanding and knowledge. Like, he uses some big words, man. A little too big for my brain, you know?
No, seriously, I turn around and I think to myself about what you do compared to what other people do. And I've been the gang that up in Lockport, up at Western Block, we've been trying to figure out ways to push our investigations, our experiments into a different level. Now, I think one of the biggest problems that we have is recording everything. So let me ask you this. Would it be better to put in to hook up an inline audio recorder, inline going, to a speaker or whatever, so that it's direct? We can record the entire session and get, and be able to timestamp it and be able to go and figure out, whether it's phenomenal or if it's audio or whatever, or just leave a recorder out and just let it play or just let it record. Which would you recommend? Because it's not that hard to hook a recorder up in, through a commercial spirit box, because you got an audio out, put it into the recorder, and then go into an external speaker.
So you're talking about recording like Ghostbox sessions?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would just plug it directly in, but the way that I would do it personally is I actually would I'd have 2 recorders.
Mm-hmm.
So because one of the your recorder should have an earphone jack and a mic jack.
Right.
And so you'll take the earphone jack of one recorder, plug it into the mic of the other. And then you take But you daisy channel. I think because if you're recording the ghost box, so we go from the ghost box to the microphone of the recorder, then the ear to the microphone of the other recorder. And the reason for that is so you can have your microphone, and so it'll record the ghost box and the questions.
Oh, that's right. That's a good idea. See, I didn't think about that. Good idea on that. Because and I'll let you know how it works, because we'll be working with that over the summer. And then
I mean, like, if you have like Audacity, or you have like any of those audio programs too, I would definitely recommend slowing the audio down.
Do you think it's because the audio is? Do you think a lot of times? Let me ask you this: do you think a lot of times we're missing a lot of the conversation? Because the audio is like so quick, it's so fast, and it's hard for us to bite into it and hold on to it?
I think it depends on like the mediumship. Like, if you're like, okay, so if you're doing a ghost box session, not necessarily, because you don't know if they're, because I think that they can manipulate the frequencies, you know, and they can move, because I don't believe that time and space really matter. So they could, if they're seeing,
True.
I think of it like this, like imagine you had a holographic interactive timeline in front of you, like a history, right? And you could just like swipe through, go this way, forward in this time, or backward in time, right? Like you just swipe whichever direction, stop it when you find the right instance you want to go into, right? Like just think about it like that. So if you got a ghost box playing and there's audio coming through and it's just coming out linearly like that, and you can see it
Right.
coming out.
Right.
Now let's say certain radio stations are coming in and they're speaking certain words. Now, I personally believe that it's possible for them to take that audio, because time and space don't really matter to them. They could take that bits of this word, or like they could take this word from this station, move it over here to this station, almost like Minecraft or something. They're just moving things over to create a sentence or a phrase, or maybe they'll cut out a radio station at the right point. Like I believe they have the ability to manipulate the radio frequencies a lot more than we may give them credit for. So like it just depends on like which method you're kind of going for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question for you. Another question for you. Back in the day, you could tell I've had an interest in this for a long time.
I love it, man. I'm here for it.
Back in the day, we used to go in order to get and it kind of plays into what you're saying. We used to always say, technician, help us. Technician, slow this down. Technician, can you make this clearer? Listen to my voice. Technician. Do you think that by doing that, and again, like a friend of mine goes, you don't believe in angels, you don't believe in demons, Shaw. Now you're believing in invisible technicians, you know?
Right.
But it seemed to work back then.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's something viable that kind of is on that same frequency where you're like that same thought where it's like you're asking for external help in order to get clearer responses?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it really depends on what you believe, but I do believe like if you have that kind of connection with the other side and you have that kind of connection with your device, I think that it is possible that you can develop somebody on the other side that what we would call a technician or an operator, probably.
Right.
Like basically it's just somebody on that other side to help control the chaos. And yes, it does help. And I didn't believe it at first either. Honestly, I was like, no way, there's no way I just have this guy over on the other side, right? Like he's just ready, waiting for me. No, and I didn't believe it until I was like determined at one point to see if it was actually real. And so what I did was like one of my best friends, KD Stafford, he built an ink box is what he has. And so I set it up on my windowsill while I was doing dishes. And I mean, that was just one of the days, but like I had set it up for like 3 days, right? And I just had it running. I was like, I need a technician. Can somebody help me? Nothing. Then finally I was set it up on the windowsill doing dishes. And I hear a voice come through. It says, "Did you call me?" And I said, "Who's this?" He said, "I'm Doc." Like clear, like I'm Doc. And like I can't remember exactly what the rest of it was, but I remember that very clearly. Did somebody call me? I'm Doc. And a grumpy old man, kind of scruffy voice, right? He's he's actually a little deeper than you. He sounds like, okay. So in the Conjuring movie, the Conjuring 2, sorry, like in the Enfield, right? Is that what it was? The Enfield case. So that old man, when the girl was sounding like the old man, like real deep voice. Yeah, like it's kind of like that. And you could tell when he comes in because it's like, I'll call for him. And it's so weird. And this is why I agree with you. It is very weird that I can call him. I may have to call him a few times, but he will come. I don't understand it. And like, it seems like, there's a lot of chatter in the background, but as soon as he comes, it just stops.
Wow, that's amazing.
It just becomes
Amazing.
silent. And so like we can, you know what I mean? It's just order to the chaos over there. But he's also helped me like fine tune the box sometimes if I need it. Like, hey, should I adjust this or that? And he'll tell me when to stop as I'm turning it up, kind of thing. Like I've done that before. I think it's viable if you believe in it. Though. Like that's the thing. If you don't, of course it's just a bunch of bunk.
I mean, when we start, of course, I mean, let's face it, what we're doing is not really 100% scientific. What it is it's kind of like on the edge of insanity is pretty much what it is. And when we're working with ITC, a lot of times, I think the biggest problem that I've had with a lot of people, especially when you're working with, let's say, I shouldn't say a crowd, but let's say a small little group, people are picking up words that aren't really there. They're matrixing it. And if you record the session, timestamp it, go back to listen to it, it's no longer there. But here's my question. And again, these are like opinions. That's why I love. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You know where I'm going with
I have
this.
a crazy theory about this actually, but
Awesome.
my theory, I actually believe that they're able to the entities, spirits, whatever you want to refer to them as. I believe that they're able to change the resonant sound wave after it leaves the speaker, and they can change it before it hits at certain individuals to change the message that the person hears. So, like that's why you see like 4 or 5 people hear different EVPs, even though it's the same one or the same recording, right? Like you can never decipher it all exactly the same if you were to leave it like completely unbiased, of course, right? But I think it's yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because it's one of those things that it's like 4 people will hear the same thing. I'll be the 5th person, and I'll be sitting there going, bullshit, I didn't hear any of this. What do you mean? What are you talking about? 4 people will swear.
But like, because you think about, I mean, it does go back to like energy, frequency, and vibration. So when you think about what a sound wave is, and we don't see it, but it is a physical wave that flows through the environment. And so that is a physical wave that it bounces off of walls. That's why you have echo and different things like that in the hallway. But I mean, when you think about that, it's a giant, so Middle Point, right? This is a crazy story. Middle Point.
Middle Point. I saw that friggin' creeper with you guys, and I thought it was a dog running down the hallway. That place is wild.
But so Middle Point's 2nd floor, like that long hallway, right? There was an experiment I did one time where I used that the spring reverb tank, and I connected it to a PA speaker and just blasted the sound from one end of the hallway just down, right? And we actually were, because I had it on a dead CB radio station. Like it was just completely dead. There was no channel. It was quiet. Just little bits of static in the back, just barely anything. Mm-hmm. But we ended up hearing like a woman whistling and a dog barking. And so it kind of it led me to believe that because these are physical waves actually in our space, a medium that we don't really like, we call it dark matter for lack of a better term, but like that space in the void, like we don't know what it is. But that can possibly be manipulated if it's a physical wave. And so from like me to the wall, when that sound leaves my mouth and goes and hits the wall and bounces, it's going to be a different sound. It's going to be a different frequency, a different tone. It's going to spread around differently. And so I believe it's possible that you play an EVP on like out of a little speaker from your recorder on one side of the hall, and you go down the hall 15, 20 feet. I mean, it's going to sound completely different, but it may even be clearer when you're further away from it.
Oh, I never thought about that. Because we're all trained because of TV reality everybody puts on headsets. And that is
Or
the
right
way
next to
that,
their ear too.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. So maybe we should be listening. And again, now I'm not going to lie, I put headsets on while I'm recording, trying to hear, real time. And, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I should be listening with my own ear in order to go and to pick that up.
Now, I mean, sometimes though, because it's not for every situation, but
No,
like
of
if you
course,
got,
of course.
but like if you, especially a lot of these recorders and those little speakers, they're very, I don't want to say
Tinny.
scratchy, but they're like really
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, the sound quality isn't the greatest. So like when you step back, you're actually like, it's expanding that sound wave. So you're adding a little more depth into it. And so you can hear it a little better. And that actually, I'm telling you, like I do that with a lot of my EVP sessions when I'm listening back. If I hear something and I can't make it out, I'll back up and I'll point the speaker away from me. And it like becomes a lot clearer. It's really weird. But like you look at the effect of the sound waves as they travel, and like I mean, I believe that they can manipulate that space just as much as we can.
And if you think like that, everything makes sense. It all makes sense in order for us to pick this up. So we have to be open to every possibility. When we're working, there is no one way of doing something. We have to be open to everything, and we have to be able to go and experiment every which way we possibly can. That to me is probably what the number one thing that people are not doing anymore. People are just people, unfortunately. Again, there's nothing. I've been part of like different public hunts, and you get experienced people there that I'll watch them and I'll say, I'm thinking to myself, wasn't that just on like the episode like 3 weeks ago or whatever? And they're using it, but it's the same stuff over and over and over again. Why do you think people are so myopic? Why do you think people are not working outside of the box like you are?
I mean, it's definitely not just me. Like, I'm inspired. I'm more or less a protege of like 3 or 4 other individuals that like I've just collected the knowledge from, and who have basically have trained me on how to do everything. But like, with regard, I mean, I just kind of look at everything from a paranormal lens, in the sense, from a paranormal text lens, I guess,
Right.
because I look at certain things and I'm like, how can I use that? What could I do with that? But like when you do that, you look at and you see how everything operates differently. And the more you dive in, you start looking at all the frequencies, all the voltages, all the signals that you're going to be transmitting, receiving, whatever. Bluetooth is another thing that I want to experiment around with a little bit more, like Bluetooth audio signal, because I think that there's that frequency. It's a 2.4, I believe, 2.4 gigahertz frequency that is a carrier wave, and I think there may be something with that. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know, man. I have to look at everything from an outside the box perspective, just because. I mean, I think people are so are quick to believe things. I hate to say that people are naive, but I don't. I'm trying to be nice about it, man. But like, people I don't think are as educated on the devices that they're using as they as they should be. I think that TV has definitely had a huge influence on that, as well as other people in the field. But I think it's because people are very, when they pay all this money to go to these locations, they get out one night. A lot of them, they get out one night a week, and this is their fun with their friends kind of thing, and that's okay. Love having those people in the field, and a lot of those people are my customers as well. But I think that a lot of people really don't find they're not as interested in the data aspect of it, or seeing I don't know. I almost feel like it's not out there enough that these little anomalies in the scientific data is so much more exciting than your REM pod hit and your motion sensor alarming, just because like that's something that is there's nothing you can't trump data. Like data is everything when it comes to the scientific community and the scientific field. If you are just doing, I mean, you can't call it scientific if you don't have any kind of data, you're not following the scientific process. And I mean, I'll be honest, not everything I do is scientific. I know that. I'm not, and I preach everybody should add scientific elements to their investigations. And you have taken steps towards that with the different sensors that you told me about. And what is it? The
Geiger counter.
The Geiger counter, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The Geiger, that's another unique, different kind of aspect that people don't look at. And that's an expensive tool, man. But that is a very cool one. You got a good deal on that, I'm sure. I hope so. Those things are so crazy pricey, dude.
Austin, I don't pay retail for anything. I don't pay retail.
But I mean, but that kind of data is like so important, man. And because we can't just keep continue to do what we've been doing for the last 3-4 decades and expect a different result. Like, isn't that the definition of insanity?
Yes, it is.
It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Like, I promise you guys, a video clip, a photo, any of that is never going to be enough. It's not. We got to go harder.
I agree. And I'm telling you right now, Austin, you're coming back on the show, aren't you? Because we didn't cover I covered 5 questions with you today. I'm just going to tell you that 5 questions. That's it.
We're gonna have to do this will be a series or something. We're gonna have to do like a series of these.
I'm into it. I'm into that. I could do it. Austin, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. Number one, tell everybody about all the great projects you're doing, all the investigations that you're sponsoring. Tell everybody what the world of Austin is about.
Well, you can find me. I'm typically on Facebook at facebook.com/Austin.Maynard9, I think it is. But I also have the Underground Paranormal Network, both on Facebook and Instagram. And then I've been working heavily with JW Prather. I'm partnering with him. IDC Devices. I don't know if that's backwards or not, but we've been doing a lot with like the direct links and everything. You guys know about those. Plus the travelers experiments that we've been doing, which is really, that's something we really got to get into, because that's more or less we're doing a lot of scientific research, and I genuinely mean scientific research with regards to astral travel and astral travel experiences based on work that the Monroe Institute did as well.
I'm familiar with that. That's amazing.
But basically it's that on steroids, with a lot more, it's using sacred geometry, numerology, ancient gematria. Like, a lot of people don't know about that, but that is part of it too. And it helps to determine the spots that people are in and everything. It's crazy, dude. We did it with Nick and Tessa at Rolling Hills. I mean, and that was only a very small compressed version of it. So idcinstitute.net is where you can find information on that. We got our next experiment coming up at Auglaize Village in Defiance, Ohio, in September 9th through the 14th or 15th, I believe. And yeah, there's information on that if anybody wants to take part in those. So
that's phenomenal. Austin, stick around. I want to thank you personally and properly off the air. This has been enlightening. I have been looking forward to this because my eyes have been opened to the possibilities of something beyond. Yet it's interlinked with my faith. It's interlinked with everything, and it's just like a little. You know what this reminds me of? It's sort of like peeking through the keyhole of a big door and knowing that there's something on the other side. Yet We just don't have the right key quite to open it up yet. So now we have to experiment with every single key to try to open that door.
I have another version of that. I look at as like you're looking at silhouettes behind a very thin veil, like a curtain that you just, that we're trying to figure out how to raise that, but it's a combination lock, and it's a combination of the right frequencies that we got to mix together to figure out what that combination is to lift the veil.
Makes perfect
That's
sense.
obvious.
Hey, well, what do we know? We don't know what's going on. We all have our theory. I love it though. That makes sense. Austin,
All the same.
hang tight. I'll be right back.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled.
Sure.
I'm humbled that you were on the show.
I
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
having me, man. It's been fun.
Just hold on, brother. Just hold on. Austin Maynard is phenomenal. He's probably one of the most educated people in the ITC world that I know. It was an honor for him to come on, and I just loved. I was sitting on the edge of my seat this entire show because I've learned so much, and I'll be rewatching this, taking notes for my next series of experiments. So, guys, till next week. Remember one thing: try to be kind to each other. You don't have, you just try, and we'll see you where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. Take care. Bye-bye.